Hello and welcome to Distributed Systems and Blockchain in the News. My name is Thomas Bocek, and today in the news we have a big event. Sam Bankman-Fried has been convicted and faces up to 110 years in prison. It's covered by many media outlets, for example here the New York Times. So Sam Bankman-Fried, the former CEO of the cryptocurrency exchange FTX, has been convicted on all 7 charges, and this conviction marks a significant moment for the cryptocurrency industry, reflecting the potential for criminal misuse and especially the consequences. The charges, which include wire fraud conspiracy, security fraud, commodities and fraud conspiracy, and money laundering conspiracy, show a complex and deliberate scheme, and the prosecutor described the scheme as one of the largest financial fraud in US history. The guilty verdict, reached after just 4 hours of jury deliberation, suggests that the evidence presented by the prosecution was compelling enough to convince the jury. The fact that other key executives from FTX and Alameda Research pled guilty in various charges and cooperated with the government by testifying against Sam Bankman-Fried may have contributed to the case outcome. Their testimonies likely offered valuable insights into the inner working of FTX and Alameda, shedding light on the alleged misuse of 8 billion customer funds and other fraudulent activities. Sam Bankman-Fried's defense strategy included a denial of intentional wrongdoing and an attempt to shift the blame onto other executives from the collapse of FTX and the mismanagement of funds. The verdict sets the stage for the sentencing phase, with each charge carrying substantial maximum sentences, and with some charges having a maximum of 20 years. This includes up to 110 years in prison, so Sam Bankman-Fried faces a potentially lengthy prison term. The trial's outcome may serve as a warning against crypto companies that have a lack of oversight. It may also trigger a push for more robust regulatory framework to prevent similar incidents in the future. The question remains if regulation can prevent such cases. For example, Wirecard lost $2 billion with regulatory oversight. The next article is about Kubernetes and kernel panics. It's from Netflix. It's this article here, and it's about a problem with pods that lost connection during shutdown. Here we see the issue, and this may leave users without clear indication of whether it's safe to retry any operations. And what Netflix did to provide transparency and accountability, they implemented a custom controller to log the history of pods and node objects, and integrated this kind of log that captures the reason behind this unexpected termination. And the most challenging scenario was in this article that the nodes experienced a kernel panic, and a kernel panic means that nothing is going anymore, and the challenge was how to get this information into another system. So a kernel panic typically doesn't allow for any final communication. However, Netflix was then inspired by Google Spanner, which have a Linux module called netconsole that sends out one last UDP message, transporting those vital information about what kind of kernel panic happened to another system, so that the user sees what went wrong. And this process not only documents what happened, also provides valuable data that can be used to address and reduce these kind of kernel panics. And this is key in distributed systems. So if something breaks, knowing the reason why something fails and also being able to explain the failure, this is often the most difficult part. And if you know the reason why something fails, fixing it becomes easy, almost trivial. Okay, not trivial, but it becomes easy. You often have then multiple approaches on how to fix the issue, and you can choose one of those approaches, the most suitable fix. But understanding the issue, understanding the reason why something fails, this is key and this is very important. And this article highlights this issue here. And this article highlights that this is essential to understand why something fails. The next article, also quite an interesting article, is from Cloudflare about the recent service disruptions. It's the following article here. And they start the article, that's quite interesting to start. This never should have happened, famous last words. So what happened on November 2nd, Cloudflare suffered an outage in its control plane and analytics service due to a complex power failure on one of its primary data center facilities, which is operated by Flexential. In this article, they're blaming Flexential quite a lot. This disruption lasting almost 2 days and affected customers and how they access Cloudflare, how they access the API in the analytics service. And Cloudflare's disaster recovery procedure, they partially restored functionality within 6 hours, but the full restoration was delayed due to hardware failures and dependencies on systems which affected the facility. And despite Cloudflare's high availability design with redundant data centers, unforeseen dependencies on the impacted facility led to the control plane's partial failure. And this incident revealed critical oversight in Cloudflare infrastructure and testing processes, particularly the lack of complete failover testing for the entire facility that suffered this power outage. In response to this event, Cloudflare acknowledged that they need improvements, including leveraging its distributed systems to ensure service continuity and enforcing stricter integration standards for new services. And while Cloudflare is blaming Flexential in this article, this sentence struck out. So it's however, this one, however, we had never tested fully taken the entire facility offline. And the reason that he brings is that they need to make a trade-off between speed and security, or time to market and security, that sometimes the pressure for new features or products is higher than testing failure cases. And this I have observed also quite so many times. Once there is pressure for a product or a feature, testing gets postponed and will be deprioritized. So the last article is about OpenSea and NFT, and it's the following article here. So as the NFT market experiences a downturn, OpenSea, which I previously mentioned also in this lecture and in the news section, it's a leading NFT marketplace, has announced a reduction of its workforce by 50%, while launching a new platform, OpenSea 2.0. This decision follows a previous layoff in July, that was in 2022, which also cut 20% of its staff due to the ongoing crypto winter and a bearish trend in the collectibles market. And the layoffs, they will impact various departments, but especially reducing the number of middle managers. And the affected employees will receive a 4-month severance package along with other benefits such as continued healthcare, and at least they won't receive some worthless NFTs. Despite this, OpenSea is preparing for a new iteration of its platform, and the restructuring comes after a peak in the collectible NFT market in 2021, with subsequent community challenges, including disputes over royalty enforcements on the platform. So let's see what OpenSea 2.0 brings. We know that there will be less middle management, so hopefully more engineering capabilities and engineering-driven decisions.